Jnanakosha, Puranas, Introduction.
सर्गश्च प्रतिसर्गश्च वंशो मन्वन्तराणि च वंशानुचरितं चैव पुराणं पञ्चलक्षणम्.
Matsya Purana, the boar incarnation. At the end of the last kalpa, there was a general destruction and the universe was flooded with water. Vishnu alone slept on this water in his form of Narayana. When it was time for creation to begin, Brahma appeared inside an egg. All the worlds that would be there in the universe and all the beings who would populate these worlds were inside the egg. But before creation could start, the earth had to be created so that living beings might have a place to live in. When the earth was just created, it was full of mountain ranges and these mountains were exceedingly heavy. The upshot of this was that the earth could not bear the weight of these mountains and started to get immersed in the water. She went all the way down to the underworld. The earth started to pray to Vishnu so that she might be saved. Vishnu adopted the form of a gigantic boar. He entered the water and raised the earth up on his tusk. He laid her to rest on the water. Having first levelled out the mountains, this was the story of Vishnu's boar incarnation. The churning of the ocean. The gods and the demons always fought with one another. In the process, many demons and gods were killed. This was no problem for the demons. Their teacher, Shukracharya, knew the art of Mrityu Sanjeevani and immediately brought the dead demons back to life. But the gods who were killed stayed dead. The gods went to Brahma for his advice. Having a temporary truce with the demons, said Brahma, unite with them and churn the ocean. This churning will make you immortal and you will have no reason for fear the demons. The gods went to meet Bali, the king of demons, with the proposal and Bali agreed to the temporary truce. Preparations were made for the churning of the ocean. Mount Mandara was used as the rod for churning and the great snake Vasuki agreed to be the churning rope. The problem, however, was the Mount Mandara had no base to rest on, and without a base, the peak would move and the churning could not proceed. The great Vishnu adopted the form of a huge turtle. The back of the turtle provided the base on which Mount Mandara could rest. The churning started. The gods held Vasuki's tail and the demons the head. The churning went on for 1,000 years of the gods. The first object to emerge as a result of the churning was the moon, Chandra. Shiva accepted Chandra as an ornament for his forehead. Lakshmi, the goddess of wealth and prosperity, merged next and was united with Vishnu. Shura, the goddess of wine and drinking, came out next. She was followed by the divine horse Uchashvara. This was appropriated by Indra. A beautiful jewel named Kaustubha came out next and was accepted by Vishnu as his adornment. After these wondrous objects had come out, smoke started to billow out and clouded the atmosphere. The cloud was followed by tongues of fire which threatened to burn up the gods and the demons. From the fire there came out all sorts of poisonous snakes and venomous insects. This was followed by a terrible poison known as Kalakuta. No one knew what to do with the poison. It would have killed them all. The goddess and the demons began to pray to Shiva for deliverance. Shiva appeared and swallowed up the poison. It stuck in his throat and made his throat blue in color. Since Neela means blue and Kantha means throat, Shiva came to be known as Neelakantha. With the danger removed, the churning continued and Dhanvantari came out of the ocean. He was the physician of the gods and the originator of medicine. Dhanvantari held the pot of Amrita in his hand. The demons immediately started to fight over possession of the Amrita. But Vishnu adopted the form of a beautiful woman known as Mohini. This woman was so pretty that all the demons fell in love with her and gladly handed over the pot of Amrita to her. But they continued to fight with the gods. While the fighting went on, Vishnu secretly fed the gods the Amrita. The gods became immortal. The demons received no Amrita, not a single drop. That was not quite true. There was a demon named Rahu. He adopted the form of a god and managed to get a little bit of the Amrita. But Surya Chandra spotted the deception and pointed it out to Vishnu. Vishnu promptly severed Rahu's head with his chakra. The Amrita never percolated down beyond Rahu's throat, but the demon's head had its share of the Amrita and became immortal. Rahu never forgave Surya and Chandra for telling on him. Rahu had tried to swallow up the sun and the moon, given a chance. You can see this happening at the time of the solar and lunar eclipses. This was the story of the Vishnu's turtle incarnation. Architecture. The science of architecture owes its origin to 18 great sages. Their names are Bhrigu, Atri, Vasistha, Vishwakarma, Maya, Narada, Nagajita, Vishalaksha, Pundaradhara, Brahma, Kartikeya, Nandeshwara, Shaunaka, Garga, Vasudeva, Aniruddha, Shukra and Brihaspati. The building of a house should never be begun in the month of Chaitra. A person who does this is sure to contract a disease. The month of Vaishakha is good time to begin. One who does this is bound to own many O's. The months of Agrahayana, Magha and Falguna are also auspicious. An individual who begins to task in Agrahayana has full granaries. One who begins in Magha attains all sorts of riches, and one who begins in Falguna obtains gold and sons. Ashadi is also a good month to start. Servants and animals are owed by a person who starts the building in Ashada. But the months of Jyeshta, Shravana, Bhadra, Ashwina and Pausha are inauspicious. If you start in Jyeshta, you will die soon. You will also die if you begin in Shravana. Begin in Bhadra and you will suffer from all manners of losses. Your wife will die if you start the task in the month of Ashwina. And all your goods will be stolen if you start in the month of Pausha. It is best to begin the building of a house when the nakshatras Ashwini, Rohini, Mula, Uttara Bhadra, Uttara Ashada, Uttara Falguni or Mrigasira are in the sky. Any day is permissible with the exception of Sunday and Tuesday. The ground on which the house is to be built has to be tested. A pit should be dug and a sapling planted. If the sapling thrives and grows into a big tree, the ground has been well chosen. But if the tree withers away or does not grow into a strong tree, one ought to move somewhere else. A diagram is then drawn on the ground in the form of a square with 81 smaller squares in it. That is, the largest square will be subdivided into 9 squares along very side. 9 multiplied by 9 gives the 81 smaller square. In each of these 81 smaller squares, a specific god has to be worshipped. There are different types of houses. A house that has doors on all 4 sides is known as the Sharvottabhadra. Such a configuration is recommended for palaces or temples. A house that does not have a door to the west is known as Nandyavrata. A house that does not have a door in the south is known as Vardhamana. A house that does not have a door to the east is known as a Swastika. And a house that does not have a door to the north is known as Ruchaka. A palace should be 108 cubits hand length in length. If a prince and not a king is to live in the palace. 66 cubits are the recommended length. Other recommended lengths are 64 cubits of generals, 48 cubits for ministers, 28 cubits for artisans, and 12 cubits for messengers and guards. Priests and physicians are entitled to 24 cubits. An ordinary householder should build a house that is 32 cubits in length. The sole exception is an outcast. He is entitled to only 16 cubits. There should not be any trees in the front of the house, but trees have to be planted towards the back. The wood with which the house has to be built must be carefully chosen. One must not cut down a tree that birds have built next on it. Certain trees must never be chosen. These include those that have been gashed on by an elephant or struck by lightning. They also include trees that grow near temples or at the rivers and trees from cremation ground. Neem trees and mango trees must never be used for building houses. The height of the tree should be multiplied by its circumference. This product should now be divided by 8. If the remainder that is left is 1, the timber can be used in building any part of the house. Such timber is known as dhwaja. When the remainder is 2, the timber is known as vrisha and should be used in constructing the western door. When the remainder is 3, the timber is called simha and should be used for the northern door. The name is Vrishabha if the remainder is 4, and such wood should be used for the eastern door. When the remainder is 5, the timber is given the name of Hasta and should be used for the southern door. Idols. Idols have to be installed in temples. Vishnu's image should have either 8 hands or 4. If there are 8 hands, the arms to the right should hold a Shankha, Conch, a Gada, a Shara, and a Padma. The arms to the left should hold Dhanu, a Padma, a Shankha, and a Chakra. If there are 4 hands, the mace and the lotus should be to the right and the Chakra and in the conch shell to the left. Vishnu will be shown standing on the word Garuda, the king of the birds. Bears him around. Garuda will therefore be shown at Vishnu's feet. Towards the right, Lakshmi's image must always be to the left of Vishnu's image, and Lakshmi will hold a lotus in her hand. The best idols are made out of gold, silver, copper, jewel, stone, wood from alloys. The proportions of the various parts of the body must be exactly right. Shiva's image must have matted hair and he must wear a crescent moon on his forehead. The idols must convey the impression that Shiva is 16 years old. Shiva must be dressed in tiger skin and must be garlanded with snakes. A peacock feather should adorn an ear. If a spear, a rod, or a trident are shown, they must be to the right. And if a skull, a snake, or a sword are shown, they must be to the left. When Shiva is shown riding a bull, his image has 2 hands, but when he is shown in a dancing posture, the image has 10 hands. If the intention is to show him destroying Tripura, the image must have 16 hands. There is one particular image that deserves special mention. This is known as Ardhanarishwara, half male and half female. The Shiva part of the image will be to the right and to the Parvati part of the image will be to the left. The right hand of the image will hold a skull or a trident, and the left hand of the image will hold a lotus or a mirror. There is another type of image known as Uma Maheshwara. In this case, there are 2 separate images, one of Shiva and the other of Parvati. The idols of various other gods and goddesses are also described. Pavilions, mandapa. These are classified in terms of the number of pillars that are used in their construction, and there are 27 main types of pavilions. A Pushpaka pavilion has 64 pillars. A Pushpa Bhadra pavilion has 62 pillars. A Shuvrata pavilion has 60 pillars. An Amritananda pavilion has 58 pillars. A Daushalya pavilion has 56 pillars. A Buddhism Kirana pavilion has 54 pillars. A Gajabhadra pavilion has 52 pillars. A Jaivaha pavilion has 50 pillars. A Srivasta pavilion has 48 pillars. A Vijaya pavilion has 46 pillars. A Vastukriti pavilion has 44 pillars. A Shrutijanya pavilion has 42 pillars. A Yajnabhadra pavilion has 40 pillars. A Vishala pavilion has 38 pillars. A Shushilata pavilion has 36 pillars. A Shatrumadharna pavilion has 34 pillars. A Bhagapancha pavilion has 32 pillars. A Nandana pavilion has 30 pillars. A Manava pavilion has 28 pillars. A Manabhadraka pavilion has 26 pillars. A Sugriva pavilion has 24 pillars. A Hairata pavilion has 22 pillars. A Karnikara pavilion has 20 pillars. A Shatradhika pavilion has 18 pillars. A Simha pavilion has 16 pillars. A Shyamabhadra pavilion has 14 pillars. A Samudra pavilion has 12 pillars. Pavilion should be triangular, semicircular, or rectangular. Donations. There are different methods of donating alms. One of the most sacred is known as Tula Purusha. In this, a pair of scales is used. The person who is donating the alms ascends on one side of the scales and gold is placed on the other side until the scales are exactly balanced. This is the amount of gold that has to be donated if punya is to be acquired. A second sort of donation is known as Hiranyagarbha. In this, a pot full of gold is donated. In a third form of donation, a model of universe is fashioned out of the gold and donated. This form of donation is therefore known as Brahmanda. The fourth form of donation is known as Kalapadapa. In this, a tree is made out of gold and donated. The fifth form of donation is known as Gosharna and involves the donation of 1,000 cows. The sixth form of donation is known as Kamadhenu. The object of donation in this case is a cow and a calf, both made out of gold. The seventh form of donation is similar and is known as Hiranyakshva. A horse made out of gold is donated. The eighth form of donation is called Ashwaratha. A horse and 4 chariots have to be donated and both have to be made out of gold. Hemashrishta is the ninth form of donation. The objects of donation in this case are an elephant and a chariot made out of gold. The 10th form of donation is known as Panchagalaka. In this case, 10 plows are donated. 5 of them have to be made of wood and the remaining 5 have to be made of gold. The 11th form of donations is Adhara. In his case, a golden model of the earth is donated. The 12th form of donation is known as Vishwachakra. The object of that donation is model made out of gold. The model is that of the universe of the shape of a wheel. The 13th form of donation is Mahakalpa. 10 creepers made out of God are donated. The 14th form of donation is Sapta Sagara. Pits are made in the ground, there being 7 of them. The 14th form of donation is Saptasagara. Pits are made in the ground, there have been 7 of them. Each pit stands for one of the 7 oceans. In the first pit, it put salt, in the second, milk, in the third, clarified butter, in the fourth, molasses, in the fifth, curds, in the sixth, sugar, and in the seventh, holy water. An image of a god or goddess is then placed in each pit, Brahma in the first, Vishnu in the second, Shiva in the third, Surya in the fourth, Yama in the fifth, Lakshmi in the sixth, and Parvati in the seventh. The images must be made out of gold. The pits are then filled to the brim with jewels and the entire contents donated. The 15th form of donation is called Ratnadhenu. In this case, a cow made out of gold is donated. The nose, the eyes, the brows, and various other parts of the cow should be made out of jewels. The 16th form of donation is called Mahabhuta Ghataka. A pot is made out of gold filled with jewels and donated. These different forms of donation are superior to all other forms of donation and bring undying punya. Epilogue. Lomaharshana completed his recital of the Matsya Purana. This text is exceedingly sacred. A person who reads even one chapter of this text goes to heaven and all his sins are forgiven. The sages thanked Lomaharshana and departed.